get after this presentation, and I have to apologize for being a couple minutes late. We just got off the ice here with our practice here, and that being 3 hours ahead of or behind Eastern time. So moving forward, so I'm going to present today on the offensive zone forecheck and principles of the forecheck. This is what we use for our staff and our team here. It's the principles that are, I'm not going to get into all of them, but these are the, six basic principles for us. And one of the main ones is FTC stands for feed the forecheck. And how you feed the forecheck is based, line rush four through the neutral zone. Are you zipping, tipping pucks? Are you hard rimming pucks? Are you chipping pucks to the goal line? Are you spraying pucks off the goaltender? So that's how we come about feeding the forecheck. And couple things there. If you can't have a forecheck if you turn pucks over at the blue line. You can't have a forecheck if you hard rim pucks to the goaltender. So this is important for our group, and I think any team out there. And if you look at the Stanley Cup champions last year, the Florida Panthers, they had a heavy forecheck team, and they had a bunch of different rules in place where that worked for their team. And I think that's important. You have to find a forecheck that works for your team. So part of it, obviously, first one is feeding the forecheck. And the second part of the principle is part of your forecheck. It has to, within your structure, we use the term being connected. If you have four guys performing the forecheck or three guys performing the forecheck, most likely the opposing team, the breakout team, will most likely find an angle or find a pass or find an execution point where they can break that forecheck. So you really have to be connected, not only in your offensive zone forecheck, you have to be connected through the neutral zone on your feeding the forecheck. Um, Going forward, speed is huge. Like if you don't skate, you don't pressure, you don't angle, then you can't disrupt. And that's the point of the forecheck is try and disrupt the opposing team from breaking out and getting the puck back. Sounds very minimalistic, but at the end of the day, it's you have to work. Any forechecking uh, system is hard work. It's not sexy. And it's not a line rush for you. You've given up possession of the puck. You're in on the forecheck. You're not going to score off the rush, but you can score if you get the puck back with speed, pressure, angles, and disruption. Going in on the forecheck, I think this is a contention for a lot of coaches. If you look at stick positioning, watch an NHL game tonight after you do the presentation, and watch F1 on the forecheck, and just watch when he goes in, he's first on the puck, how many times that stick, which I call is one of the best disruptors you can have. But how many times a stick is in the air when a forward goes in to break up a forecheck? And defensemen are too good nowadays. They're too skilled. They're too smart. They just got too many skills that where they make plays underneath you. So now basically you've skated that distance up the ice. You're pressuring the forecheck, and if you lose your stick, they make plays underneath you. So that's an important part of the forecheck going forward. And it's all over the ice in the D zone, the offensive zone, neutral zone. Stick positioning is huge. And you'll hear coaches talk about that all the time. Now, the idea is create turnovers, regain possession, and then go on the offense and reattack. And you'll see that going forward in the presentation. Now, you heard me talk about being connected. The ozone forecheck is a system that still allows you defensively to be in great structure. So if there's a turnover or if they do break out, you're in a great spot to get over top of the puck, reload, reattack, track in all those situations. And we'll touch on that going forward in the presentation. So that's the principles of the ozone forecheck. And I'll just go on to the next slide. Fundamentals of the ozone forecheck, obviously skating. If you can't skate, you can't get there, you can't forecheck. Plain and simple. You got to make sure you work. And it's funny, we just got off the ice here and we're doing one of the drills that I will show at the end of the presentation. I really had to get after our F1 and F2 to accelerate through the neutral zone to put speed and pressure and reads on the team breaking out. And you have to practice it. We practice it every day, not only for a forecheck, but we practice it for our young defensemen who need to feel the pressure on the breakouts. Again, here we're just going to reconfirm stick positioning. And then you have to have a great F1, F2, and F3. They have to be able to read off each other. I remember I was coaching in Texas in the American Hockey League in 2000, I think 14 to 18. And our term for our F1 is called the Husky. And a husky is a bomb. What do you call a bomb? Uh, Detonator. It's a machine that where it's got this huge arm that goes off the front of it. So when the military is trying to disengage bombs or minefields, this thing will go along and blow them up. So it's not a sexy job; it's a hard job, but it's a job you take a lot of pride in what they do in saving lives, and obviously for the army. So for us, being an F1 is a privilege. Being an F1 is part of the forecheck, which is not sexy, but it's part of the forecheck that sets up the benefits for the rest of the team and the rest of the group going forward. And we want to be physical. We want to be able to set a tone, physicality. You want to let that defenseman know if we have a great forecheck and we're hard on the forecheck. If you want to watch great forechecks, watch the first round of the NHL playoffs. It's probably the most physical part of the season. And you're seeing teams turn over pucks. When you turn over pucks, you get pucks back and you get scoring chances for. Deep pinching down walls with heels to the wall on pinches, not letting that puck get out against you. That's an important skill for the defense. Inside stick positioning and trying to stop that puck from exiting up the wall if they're rimming pucks out or while you're pinching down walls. You'll see that going forward. And then reloading, tracking, and then the last thing, will to compete. You have to have a will to compete in all the areas of the game, especially on the forecheck. So I'm going to go forward here. I think the video's coming up here next uh, after the systems here. So some of the ozone forechecking systems that we use, and that probably the most popular than most of the leagues, are the 2-1-2 forecheck, 1-2-2 skinny, 1-2-2 wide, 2-3 full pinch, and there's a 2-3 goalie handle. And the last one that's on here is a set forecheck based on if a team stops behind the net on the breakout. And a lot of these forechecks they're based on your personnel of your team. Could be based on the time of the game. It could be based on, early in the season if your team is not really connected on the forecheck. So you got to find something that works for your team. Now, like I said before earlier in the presentation, you have to be able to pressure. You have to be able to skate. You got to move. So that'll set up the presentation you're going forward. And I have a video clip. So that sets up the presentation. Let me go back on a clip. That sets up the presentation going forward here. And we want to make sure in these situations you have pressure. And if you don't have pressure, you don't have a forecheck. If you don't have pressure, you don't get the puck back. You don't have pressure, you are back checking 200 feet. If you don't have pressure, you're going to be easy to play against. So that sets up the presentation. And here's the first forecheck going forward. The 2-1-2. Dump the puck in, put the puck in a great spot. F1, F2, seek the D. Your job is to hunt the D, get after him, stick on puck, and when the puck moves, you have to stay above him. F3 for us will come in through the dot lane on the puck side, and he stays above and he does not dive in. Usually when you dive in, you're giving up a 2-on-1 because your D is going to pinch, or you're giving up a 3v2. D1 and D2 work to be connected with the forecheck, and D2 is ready to pinch any pucks on the weak side. Any puck that comes out the weak side, the D2 will pinch down the weak side. The only time he does not pinch unless there's an F3 that does not come across the support, and you'll see that in the video going forward. F3, work across to support the D. Now, this is the hardest part. I was watching a game last night. I believe it was Chicago gave up a goal in the first 15 seconds of the game. Connor Bedard was the F3. He dove in, gave up a 3-on-2. The D pinch. They gave up a 2-on-1. Carlson scored in the net, 1-0. And then obviously Connor made up for it. He had 4 points after that and came back and they won the game later. But when that F3 dives in and pinches, you're usually going to give up an odd man rush, a 2-on-1, or a 3v2. Now, F1 and F2 have to reload above once puck move. If they get rimmed out, they move to the middle, they're overs, high flips, aerials. F1 and F2, you have to beat your defenseman up the ice because that's part of the game now where the D are going to join and activate. And any turnover pucks, look for F3 with a quick strike. So if F1 and F2 get in, they turn the puck over. We are looking to quick strike to the net. We are looking F3 in the slot or on the dots, and we are attacking. So let's get into a couple of videos to just show the clips here. So this is our team, the Coachella Valley Firebirds. This is a 2-1-2 forecheck. Puck gets set to the corner. There's what your F1 and F2. They're going hard on it. Great job on the forecheck. And then now we turn the puck over. Great stick. Now here comes F3. He was laid off the bench. But when we're looking for that puck to the middle of the ice here, there's the quick strike. And now we get a little bit of chaos because we've recovered the puck off a forecheck and we're going hard on it. Sorry, that one just jumped a little bit quick here. Let me reattack this. So here's a 2-1-2 pressure, forecheck. There's F1 and F2 on the puck. Now we have contact below the goal line. See F3 working to the dot or the middle of the ice. There's a battle on the puck. F1, F2 recover. They find F3 in the slot, and there's the goal. Your F1 and F2 have to be comfortable of doing the work for other players to benefit. Usually they're going to pick up an assist or pick up a rebound, but it takes a lot of pride to get in those situations and be a part of that. This is going to be a 2-1-2 forecheck with a weak side D pinch. So F1 and F2 are seeking the D. F3 is going to work across. He sees the puck's going to go around the weak side. D1's going to pinch down the wall. F3's got to be there. And D2's got to work to get to the middle of the ice. So there's the pressure. There's the rim. There goes the D down the wall. And great spot by F3 at the blue line. And now we're in the offensive zone, chasing pucks and turning pucks over. So, and you can see the connectivity of the five guys on the forecheck. It's important. If one guy breaks down, then we're going to give up a situation. Here's a 2-1-2 again with a weak side D pinch. There goes F1, F2 hunting the D. F3's coming off the bench now. He's just coming late. There's the F3 right there. So now the puck's on the strong side. Now, in a perfect world, I would tell 57, this is Jagger Furcus, F3, probably to hold that ice. But he dives into the play here now. Puck gets rimmed out the weak side. D2 is going to pinch down the wall. And you'll see there's a bit of a rotation where 29 is working across. He may be late, but he's still working across to support the D pinching down the walls. And then 96 and 57 are working above and reattacking the puck. Now, in certain situations, I believe Florida in their forecheck rotation, number 47 would be allowed to go to the wall to fill for that D-man, and 29 would just work in the middle. So there's a bunch of different variations that you can run off these forechecks, but you don't have to be married to one, and that depends on what you want to run as a team and a coach. But it's very effective. 2-on-2 puts a lot of pressure on the D, and it forces your team to get on their toes to work. And a lot of times when you're on your toes working, you're going to have success. So the next forecheck here is a 1-2-2 or a 1-2-2 wide. Now, this forecheck is usually sets up if the F2 can't get there on a 2-1-2 forecheck, or this might be scripted. You're going to see a clip here going forward to the Texas Stars. We just played Saturday night. They are a 1-2-2 forecheck team, and I'll show you a clip of that game where they have a set forecheck. I'll show you a 1-2-2 rotation, and then I will show you a 1-2-2 wide. This is very effective if you can get that F1 hard on the D and you can seal the walls. If the team rims a lot of pucks out, you can seal the walls, and it forces your D not to pinch down the walls on the strong side or the weak side. So F1, your job is to get up ice and cut the D in half and try and force them into F2. F2 and F3, I got to get up and support F1 on the push and stay at the tops of the circles. You don't want to be any lower than the tops of the circles. If you do, one pass will beat two forwards. And you have to understand that, just stay above. And I know players get excited sometimes and they get impatient and they want to dive down. And usually when you dive down into F1's ice, that puck's going to bypass you and go the other way. So you got to do a good job of just staying above, being patient. You'll be surprised how many pucks you turn over. And then F3 will fill across for OZP options. If the puck gets turned over, we're looking for a quick strike and we're above the puck. And then he's covering any pass through the middle of the ice. The rotation is open for discussion with your coaching staff, what you want to run off it. And then you'll see a 1-2-2 wide where the F1's going to push the puck, F2 and F3 will come wide and then work across depending on which side the puck comes up. On that 1-2-2, F2, F3, they got to make sure they're in sync. And again, we're not diving in going forward. So here we're getting into some video. So here's a 1-2-2. Now this is the Texas Stars the other night. Watch F1. He's going to push, and F2 and F3 are going to stay above. So there's your 1-2-2. Now, if that puck would have went over to our defense partner, F1 would have skated. We call it skating the current. F1 would have kept on skating in that situation. So he would have came over here. He would have kept skating at that D-man. And this forward would have come over here and sealed the wall. F2 would become F3. And this guy would have sealed the middle right into here. So they would just shift on that 1-2-2. So that's the look that you want. And usually these guys will get the puck back. So let's let this roll. You'll see a rotation comes up the strong side. And then usually that would have dropped right on that defenseman's stick at the blue line from just being patient. So you can see here, pressure forces turnovers. Pressure forces mistakes. And here I think we get a lucky bounce. It goes out. 1-2-2 with a rotation. So F1 is going to hunt. He is going to hunt the puck right into here. He's coming hard. F2 and F3 got to work to get up the ice here. See how we didn't send the second guy to the backside D? But what's going to happen now is on aggressive 1-2-2, this F3 is going to come down right through the back post. So there'd be a line drawn right here. That would be his line that he wants to skate down. And now, as soon as that puck is over, he is going to hunt. He's going hard. This forward's going to come out. The original F1 and F2 is going to work across to become F3. And that is the 1-2-2 rotation. And then now D pinches down the wall, and we have a great support from our F3. And that's the connectivity of the forechecks. That's what you want to have. You have to practice this, and there's probably a little bit of line chemistry involved with these players going forward. 1-2-2 wide. If I stop this right now, you can see how wide the F2 is. He's coming just inside the dot line from the boards. F3 is coming just outside the dot lane. He's going to jump any rim out to the wall. He's jumping any rim out here. Any rim out the strong side in this area here, he's going to seal the wall. So I'll just let this roll. There goes F1, right? We seal the wall with F2 or F3, and now we work across to the dot, and now we're in a great spot, and now the puck is going right into this area for a quick strike. He can take this puck and shoot it, or he can bump it back to the strong side D, or he can bump it back to the weak side D. So it's very effective, but none of these forechecks don't work unless you have a committed F1. The F1 has to work. He has to skate. He has to have a great stick, and he's got to be willing to sacrifice for his teammates. And again, after this puck goes out, he has to make sure that he gets above that defenseman, because a lot of teams, these defensemen are joining the rush. They're jumping off these set plays. 2-3. A 2-3 basically is late in the game where you're down a goal. 2-3 could be early in the game where you want to pinch down the walls. You want to see if the other team's a little bit sleepy, turn some pucks over. But the problem is if you get into a 2-3, you're going to want to pinch all over the ice. And usually that's going to end up in a 2-on-1 going the other way, and it's usually going to end up in the net. So you really have to do a good job of when are you going to use the 2-3? How are you going to use the 2-3 in what situations of the game? And it's no different than the other forechecks. There's one little difference, and we'll talk about that going forward. So the F1 and the F2 hunt the D. Again, you got to hunt, you got to work, you got to be connected. D1 and D2 have to get up the ice. They have to get up to the blue lines. It's work. They have to work to match the F1, the F2, and the F3. And as the puck comes around the wall, either side, the D are pinching down the walls. And the F3 has to get up set middle to support D1 or D2 pinches. So if D1 pinches, F3 gets over top, supports. If D2 pinches, F3 gets over top and supports. And then F1 and F2, you have to reload. You got to reload, get above your D, and you'll see clips at the end. Why we reload, you get rewarded for doing the hard work. The forecheck's not over until the puck starts coming back over the blue line as it starts to exit the offensive zone. F3 is ready for any turnovers and quick strikes through the middle of the ice because you're obviously in a great position being in the middle of the ice on that F3, 2-3 quick strike. So this is a 2-3 full pinch. You'll notice here F1 and F2 are hunting. We are seeking the D. We are getting on top of them. They are the husky of our forecheck. F3 is coming down the middle of the ice. You see them in the red circle there. And our D1 and D2 are not up the ice yet, but they're coming. They're not in the video, out of the video clip. And obviously with the pressure, we talked about that, pressure on the defenseman. They will turn a puck over. They're going to rim it out, keep it going, boom. There's our D-man down the wall, and there's the F3 supporting. And now we are reloading, and we're not in a bad position. So you can see in that situation, I'll just let it roll back here. In these situations, if we're reloading, if we would have reloaded harder back through here, maybe we get this loose puck. We kind of floated behind the net. We skated the current. But if we come back above, maybe we get that loose puck in the slot. And it's a game of hockey. There's going to be mistakes all over the ice on both sides of the team here. Whatever league you're in, if the team that makes the least mistakes is the team that's probably going to get rewarded the most. So you got to make sure you're connected in these situations. 2-3 goalie handle. With today's goaltenders, they handle the puck very well. We just played Texas, and their goaltender handled the puck very well. So you got to keep it away. With our system, we will have a 2-3-4 check. F1 and F2 are going to seek the opposing team's defense, and then our F3 will support our D, and our D will not pinch in this situation. F3 will work over top on any rim out situation. So you'll see here in this situation here on this goalie handle. Talk about dumping pucks, putting pucks in good spots. That's probably a bad dump for us when the goalie gets a touch on it. F1 and F2 are going to hunt the D, so he's hunting him right here. F2 is hunting this defenseman right here. Most of the times they're going to go back and set in a corner for an over from the goaltender. And whatever side that the goaltender rims the puck out, F3 will come over and seal it off. So here it goes to his backhand. It goes around. And see our F3's come over here. He's getting over top. And there's our defenseman on the blue line. He is not allowed to pinch in this situation. And you see these defensemen working across to support him. He is not allowed to pinch either. And now our forwards that were forechecking are getting out and they're getting above in this situation. Now, some teams will do it a little bit different. Some teams will, on their 1-2-2, the F1 will hunt the goalie and try and push it into the high wingers, which is a pretty successful or solid forecheck. But for us, we run a 2-3 where F3 gets over top. And it kind of gets back to the premise of working. We want to work. We want our forwards to work. We want to make sure that we're putting pressure on the defensive team. Now, this is kind of as your teams evolve, we have different forechecks. This is a hard rim stack forecheck for us. And this is a forecheck that we run off face-offs on the offensive blue line, center ice face-off, line rush for when teams pinch on or when teams squeeze on you. And what happens, the problem is teams are so successful now at squeezing through the neutral zone, choking off the line rush. When you chip pucks down the wall, a lot of teams are going to weak side D retrievals, and they're coming up the strong side. So we will use a hard rim stack to get the opposing team out of their set breakout systems. And then this allows us to have the puck coming north or coming into our ice where we can press down on forwards and defense and get a lick on, get a physical hit on them. So on a hard rim stack coming through the neutral zone, you want to rim the puck past the goalie so we don't have to have a goalie forecheck. And we want to make sure that everybody is working to get up the ice. So the forward that dumped the puck or the defenseman that dumped the puck will become the F3 on the weak side. The other two forwards in the middle driver and the offside would become the F1, F2. And you'll see that going forward. D1, D2 get up the ice, support the blue line. We are not pinching down these pucks. We are supporting our forecheck. And there's really no numbers as consistent as a 1-2-2 forecheck or a 2-1-2 forecheck in this situation. You'll see in the video going forward. So you'll see here, this is just a 50. This is a spit out puck in the neutral zone. We dump the puck in, so you can see you can call him F1 and you can call him F2. They are going to hunt down the walls here, push down the walls, and they're going to try and win a bump back puck. This forward over here in the wall that the puck was dumped by him would become F3. His job is to hunt anything out the weak side or go to the net on any sling pucks in that. So let's let this roll here. There's the hard rim, past the goalie. There goes F1 down the wall. F1's going down the wall. F2 is sorted on the stack. There should be a D-man up the blue line right here, ready in case it comes through him. Now F3's job is, like I said, hunt the backside or go to the net. And then there should be a D-man working. The D-man that just dumped the puck can be working here. So the puck gets dumped around. We seal the wall, and now we're turning pucks over. So that's exactly where we want to be in that forecheck. And notice these two forwards right here. That is an excellent reload. We do not have possession of the puck yet. They are working above the puck, and now they will push down for support, and they will push down and get to the net on a turnover puck on that hard rim. One more look at a hard rim stack. Puck gets dumped in. So F1's on the top side, F2's in the middle, F3's on the underneath side here. There goes 96. There's one, there's two. So now 96 is F3 is in the middle of the ice, and we turn the puck over. And now we're looking for a little dot play. And there's a dot play spit back to the D, and there's a stick down hammer with forwards racing the space. So it's an effective forecheck. It's something that is just kind of, it's probably emphasized a little bit more in the National Hockey League, and it's something that's emphasized a little bit more in our league. When you hard rim pucks, it's hard to pick up pucks off the wall that are rimmed hard. It's a skill for a defenseman. It's a skill for a forward. And obviously on the offensive side, if you can pick up a puck off the wall, you can gain the advantage and disrupt the offense or the defensive team from breaking out. So that's the hard rim stack. The last forecheck here is based off a set forecheck. And there's different you're going to see two different set breakouts in this video, and I will show you two different set forechecks that we use in this video. The first one for us, it doesn't matter what teams are running, our F1's going to cut the D in half. So if a D-man stops behind the net and a D-man drops off in the corner, our F1 would stay right between the defenseman behind the net in the corner, but tops of circles. And F2 and F3 would pick up on a double swing, and F2 and F3 would pick up on an airplane, which you'll see on the set breakouts. And the D-man are responsible for any forward stretching through the neutral zone. Now, if the forwards in the neutral zone start to cross the ice and go right over the other side, then there would be a handoff in that situation from our defenseman. So this is a double swing. So you see the two forwards swinging in the corner. I think this is San Diego. Defenseman is stopped behind the net. There's a defenseman in the corner. So you can see that our F1 is cutting the D in half. Now this F1 is set up because San Diego loves to go D to D and then right up the strong side wall to a zip and tip or a bump back to speed coming through the neutral zone. But for our situation in a different pre-scout, our F1 would probably be right here. So F2 and F3 are picking up the double swing. You see them go. Now you see John Hayden right here. He's holding here. And now once this guy starts to skate the puck, John Hayden will back up and then he'll just reattack and angle on the puck. You'll see that here. We'd like to see John probably hold a little bit longer because what happens is he goes straight across instead of angling in here. Pass goes by him. And now everybody else is doing their jobs, holding their guys, and now we strike. And you can see he enters into that ice. Let that go here a little bit. So you can set up your set forecheck based on what you're going to see in your pre-scout or based on your adjustments throughout the game. Now, the next clip you're going to see, this is Calgary, and they are going to run an airplane. So what happens on an airplane is a D-man drops off in a quarter over here, and then a winger will swing wide over here, and a winger will swing wide over here. And you'll see in the clip here, boom. So now you can see F3 is going to pick up a winger on the airplane because that's obviously airplanes have wings. And then F2 is going to pick up a guy wide over here, and he's going to pick him up. Now our F1, we would probably start him a little bit lower in here. He's a little bit high, but you'll see what happens. We want to take away the direct pass up the middle. They're looking for a zip and tip. So there's a stretch guy. You can't see it in the camera right now, but there's a stretch guy right up by our D-man. He's moving forward, really hard to defend. So we want to try and take away that direct pass. If I could see the screen right here, that he's trying to zip this puck right up the middle to find the guy that's going to bump back to these guys on the wing and obviously try and create a scoring chance. But our F1 is right there, and we pick the puck off, and now we're off to the races. We get a 2-on-1 off it. We don't score, but we get a 2-on-1, and now we trap. We trap four guys in the neutral zone right into here. There's four guys trapped because we disrupted their set breakout with our set forecheck. So that's important. Okay, so now that all these forechecks, we've gone through them, the next important step for us going forward is the offensive zone forecheck is not finished. We still have to reload. Reloading is part of the forecheck. It's just the back end. Reloading, tracking, getting above is important, and it's work. It's important work. And if the puck does break out, You're in a great spot to get back through the neutral zone to get your track. You're in a great spot to come into D zone coverage. You're in a great spot for sorting. And if you're below their forwards breaking out or below their defensemen joining, you're probably giving up an odd man rush, a 3-on-2, 4-on-2, or you're giving up a late man joining the attack. So here's a couple clips on reloads. So in the offensive zone here right now, puck goes to the net on the forecheck. Watch our three guys here. Puck's going to turn over. We're in a good defensive structure, and now we turn a puck over and we get a shot on net. Remember at the beginning of the presentation, we talked about the forecheck sets you up for being in a good defensive structure. When a puck gets turned over, and you have to work back for it. One more clip on a reload. This is in Bakersfield, Edmonton Oilers farm team. Puck goes below the goal line. There's our forecheck in the offensive zone. And then watch these three guys. These three players are kind of caught a little bit deep. F3 is a little bit deep, but they work to get above, and they're in a great spot. See how they're above the winger, they're above the D-man or low center, and they're above this guy. Now they turn the puck over, and now they're creating offense. If we make a little play here, maybe we have a net drive, we drive into here, and now we create another 2-on-1. And because defensemen are so excited or they're taught to join the play and get up the ice, I think that's a defenseman right here. You can catch teams with hard work. You can catch teams cheating. You can catch teams that want to be that aggressive off the rush. And I think it's very important. And when it comes back to these situations, sticks are crucial. You have to lead with a stick. You have to have a stick in a great position because you will pick off passes. You will disrupt. And again, you can't reload if you don't have speed. So that being said, that's the presentation on the offensive zone forecheck. Again, we get back to speed. You got to be able to skate. You got to disrupt. You got to have a great stick. You got to be connected. You have to work together. And it's important to practice. You have to practice these situations. And it doesn't matter with an older team, younger team, National Hockey League team, American League team, ECHL, whatever it is, OHL, Western League, you have to practice these situations. And I'm going to show you 3 drills that we work on the forecheck. And the first one's called Pies. I stole this from the Calgary Wranglers. It's just basically a breakout drill with a forecheck, and then you'll see a continuous forecheck, and then you'll see a Schneeks 3v5, which for us kind of sets up our 3 forwards with a 2-1-2 and whatever system that we want to run. But to set up the practice drills, this is a great clip here from Alan Iverson on practice. You have to get guys excited to practice. We always talk about hard practice, easy games, and we want to make sure that our guys are practicing to the full effort level because we know they're only going to be better in games here. So I'll set this up here.
Easy to talk about. It's easy to sum it up when you just talk about practice. We sitting here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. Well, Coach, I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game, not a game, not a game. We talking about practice.
So that being said, that is a skill for a coach to get your team to practice, to get them excited. Now you're going to see this drill. So this is the Pies drill. And what's going to happen is, if you look at center ice, we've got all the lines in defenseman at center ice. We will dump the puck into the corner, and there will be a set breakout set on this situation, on this practice drill. So I'll let it roll. So there's 5 guys going back, and because it's coming, everything's going to be coming out the right side on this drill. Once we go through our set breakouts, everything will come up the other side as the practice progresses. But what happens right now, 5 white guys are going to jump out. And so on this forecheck, we are just sending 1. So whoever dumps the puck in is probably done forechecking. Now this guy's going to become the forechecker. He's the F1. His job is to hunt this puck. So we set up our F1. That is our Husky. He is our Husky, and these guys are going to break out the right side. And now we're trying to make sure that our forwards get skate screens on that forward. So there's the pressure. We actually sent 2 in this one. He kind of peeled off. Now as a breakout, there goes your 1 forechecker. Now he's supposed to be hunting this puck, not just kind of angling. And there's the breakout. We come up the other side, and now we dump it in. And then now this F1 hunts the puck in our forecheck. You can send 1. You can send 2 forecheckers, or you can send 3. So you can run your 1-2-2 off it. You can run your 2-1-2. You can run whatever you want on this drill. But for us, it's just this 2 parts for us is skate screens on the defensive side on breakouts. And then the forecheck is the F1, just hunting pucks and getting up ice through the neutral zone. So that's called the pies drill. If you need it. Second drill is called the continuous forecheck versus 2 and versus 5. So to start the drill in the neutral zone, your forwards are going to run their set 1-2-2. They're going to be there's your F1, F2 situation. There'll be a little transition here, D to D. Now they're going to dump the puck. Now this is 2. So this white guy right here is going to be F1 or F2, and this guy right here is going to be F1 or F2. Puck gets chipped in, and boom, they're hunting. There's your 2 hunting. They're hunting. Now that's a goalie handle. This D should have been working back to the corner so he can get hunted. And now he's hunting the puck right here. They break out against your 2 guys. These guys got to reload. They got to reload and get back. Reload and get back through the neutral zone. Pass to the F3 of the other line. Get up in the neutral zone formation. And then now, boom, dump it in. And then there's your forecheck. That's a hard rim stack. So there goes your 2-1-2. Seek the D. Seek the D. F3 should be right into here in that situation. And that's a continuous forecheck. And now you let the OZP play. And I'll just go to the next one here, speed it up. We get set up. Again, there's five blue getting ready to break out. 2 white are going to forecheck. There it goes. There go 2 white crisscross, dump it in. Boom. Hard. Get after it. Get after your forwards to forecheck. There's 2 guys, disrupt. They break it out, and they give it back to the forward again. And boom, get in your neutral zone forecheck. There's your 1-2-2 on both sides. And now these guys are coming. Now, this is where you can add certain components. We talk about feeding the forecheck. This could be a D to D zip and tip, right? And now these guys are hunting. So you can add different loading, if you want to call it, of your forecheck, feeding the forecheck, and that's a zip and tip. And now we want to get after it. There's your 2 hard, and there's a great F3. He's coming over, sealing off the wall here. And there's a D-man. We're in a great spot. Now look at this down here. See how the forward is above the D, and this forward should be above the D. They'll be in great spots for reloads on this situation, on this drill. Great spot. It's all about work, and all about timing. So that's the continuous forecheck versus 2 versus 5. You can set that up any way that you want. And then last drill here, this is called the Schneeks 3v5. On this 3v5, what'll happen is we'll start with a little offensive zone sequence down here, whatever you want to run. And then you'll see the line waiting in the neutral zone, set in their 1-2-2, just like we talked about. 3 forwards are going to come through the neutral zone, and they're going to carry the puck. And this is what we worked on today, and I got after our forwards. There's no way that this guy right here, because he's dumping the puck, he's probably going to get rubbed out. He's going to probably get angled off. He cannot be the F1 or F2 in the forecheck. He'll be the F3. So these guys have to work. You have to get after your guys in practice to not watch this guy. Get going north, and it's all about pressure. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Get going, and now we're skating. There's your F1, seek the D, F2, boom, and you got a good F3. Now they break out against the 3 guys. Once you get past the blue line, they're gone. Let them go in an offensive zone rush. If they get disrupted, turn the puck over, let them play it. Now they're going to go down the ice. 5 new guys jump on 5 whites. They're going to get an offensive zone puck, make a play based on what you want to do in the OZP. And then they're going to get, there's a start, there's a reset, and boom, go north. Here comes the forecheck. F1's going to get it. Now the other 2 guys got to work, hunt. And there we go. There goes F1. There goes F2. Not a great dump, turnover. Now they're going another way. That would be a turnover fueling offense going the other way. So it's important that you run these drills and you run them a lot and you get after your guys to work, because sometimes they will tone it down in practice, but you got to practice the way you want to play. So that being said, that's the end of the presentation. And we'll let Hannah take it over from here. But hopefully, if you have any questions, feel free. We got time to answer questions.
Perfect. Well, I know that there's been already about 14 questions submitted throughout your presentation and about 10 before the webinar even started. So lots of questions, but I know you're very busy, so we'll keep it to the next 15 minutes or so to get you out at the top of the hour. So we'll just dive right in. But as Derek mentioned, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to use the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom window.
Do you want me to get rid of the share there?
You're all good. I've already undone it.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
all good. Okay, first
So
question.
I should be able to see you, right? There we go. Oh, there we go. Oh, what happened there? Good. Gotcha. There we go.
Perfect. There we go. Okay, their first question is, what defensive system slash strategy do you feel is the most effective? So a little opposite than what we just talked about on the offensive zone side, but do you have any feedback on that side?
Well, that's you're going to open up a can of worms there. There's a lot of defensive zone systems that are out there. You know, different coaches use different terminology. I've heard anything from traditional to second quick to pressure support net front to man on man, to hybrids with pressure support net front to man on mans. It's based on what works for your team. Now, that's a great question for our team. We're the youngest team in the American Hockey League. I think we're 22 and a half years old. So we really have to work on pinning. We have to work on closing. And it all starts on our line rushes against through the neutral zone on squeezing. So it's based on the team you have. Obviously there's D zone systems now where teams don't want their defensemen leaving the front of the net. So they have a D center exchange on the half walls. So I guess whatever works for you as a team, but for us, we use a pressure support net front. And then once the puck is released to the tops of the circles, we actually use a hybrid of a D center exchange and a man-on-man system. So there's a lot to be added there, but there's a lot of I think it doesn't matter what defensive zone system you use, it's all about the initial entry and the closing and pinning and sealing.
Okay. And you mentioned that it depends on how your team would specifically play. But in this instance, where you guys go up to Seattle and you have players coming down, do you guys have a same communication style between, or do you guys play same systems and structures, or do you kind of, as your own team, develop your own systems and
That's
structures?
a great question. For us, part of our development with we're deep in prospects here in Coachella Valley for Seattle. Part of our mandate is to have the same systems in place as Seattle. There's a little bit of a tweak here and there in the defensive zone, but nothing that's hard to change when they go up to Seattle because we have to allow our players to put them in a position to survive and put them in a position to develop. But at that being said and done, we're very close to what Seattle runs.
Okay, we're on to the next question. How would your check a team who is always rimming slash bypassing pucks to the weak side of the ice?
That's a great question. So the 1-2-2 forecheck, the wide is a great forecheck for that system. But again, it's all predicated on your F1. If your F1 can get in and disrupt and put pressure and get out of their hands a little bit quicker, it allows your F2 and F3 to seal the walls. And in that situation, you have to make sure that your D-man doesn't pinch down if you're going to seal the wall on the weak side because you're going to have duplication on that pinch. So I would really have a real wide forecheck in that system. But what's going to happen is the team's going to make an adjustment. They're going to say, okay, they're coming down wide. We can't rim pucks out, so we're going to use overs and go through the middle. So whatever side that puck goes out, the winger that's on the wall has to work over the middle to help seal that middle bump pass.
Perfect. Well, just in that answer, you mentioned the pinch. And this next question is asking, should you always get your defenseman to pinch slash gap down on the walls?
Yeah, so there's two rules for us. Like we do not pinch down the strong side. There's never a pinch down the strong side just because what'll happen is if your F3 gets caught at the tops of the circles and your D's pinching down the wall, you're probably going to give up a two-on-one with a D slash and a D joining. So for us, the only rule for us is that the only time we pinch down a wall is if it's a weak side rim out to the weak side. So our D man knows he can jump down the wall with F3 coming across to support. Now, some teams will allow that D man to go down even if there is no support. I believe Florida runs in their system. What'll happen is their weak side D will come over the top as that D is going down, and then the forwards will fill the middle just to be a little bit different, and it works for them. So you can adapt to your pinches wherever you want, but for us, it's a weak side D pinch only and no strong side Ds.
There's lots of questions about pinching down the wall, so this next one
Perfect.
kind of falls right in. But how would you break pucks out against teams who are heavy pinch teams down the wall?
That's an excellent question. So, for us, the biggest thing for me is if you bring your wingers low in the the defensive zone for breakouts, I use the term you're inviting the pinch. When you're anchored on the wall at the hash marks or the tops of the circles, you're just looking for trouble. So for us, we want to take our wingers high. We push our wingers out early. As soon as we get possession, our wingers are gone, and that pulls that D-man off the wall. And if we do get up higher, we want that battle 5 feet inside the blue line. We want to take that D-man on. We want to almost reverse pinch into him. We want to take that battle high, and then you'll be surprised once you start pushing the pucks up high, you'll push that D-man right out of the zone. It gives you more room to operate. But the lower you go, and the more pressure that's on you in the forecheck, it invites the pinch down the walls because defensemen skate so well now. They're coming down the wall, they're coming Mach 1, they're stripping pucks, they're jumping by pucks. So we'll take our wingers a little bit higher in that situation.
Okay, we're moving off the rink and now into the coach's room. So this question is, how often do you watch video with your team on reloading and forechecks?
Good question. So it's based on it. We kind of hit different themes with our group. So like today, our focus was on D zone coverage, and our focus was on net front presence in the offensive zone. So when we watch the video and break it down, we meet as a coaching staff, and we'll say, hey, what are 3 things that we can focus on today in our practice? We play Wednesday, so we wanted to focus on 3 things that we wanted to practice on today, and then tomorrow we'll focus on 3 other things. Now I do a lot of line meeting video or individual video. So I will touch on that with the lines and instead of doing it as a video presentation with the group. So it's based on what we need and what the individual and what the set lines need.
Okay, next question. This coach is asking, what does your typical game day look like for you and your staffs with regards to meeting and staff arrivals at the rink, which I'm sure vary depending upon it being a road game or a home game.
Yeah, you know what? Our typical game day is pretty normal. Like I'll get in here about 5:36. Coaching staff will come in. We'll start meeting at 7:15, and then we'll get our game set up. We'll watch face-offs in the morning. We'll watch power play, and then we'll watch pre-scout going forward. And if it's not done, we'll watch that in the afternoon. And then in the morning, we'll have a 10 a.m. pregame skate. The guys will get out for a little bit of skill work at 9:45, get on the ice. We're on for 12 minutes. We have 3 drills. Boom, boom, boom. We're gone. We're off the ice, and the guys will come in here. If it's a 7 o'clock game, they'll be in here for 5 o'clock, and then the coaches will be in about 2:33. Anything that we need to touch on, we'll go forward, and then we start meetings at 5:20. We'll start with a penalty kill meeting, and then I'll finish off with the 5-on-5 and get ready for the game.
Love it. Short and sweet,
Pretty
but a
pretty
long,
standard.
long day.
Yeah, it's a long day, and I'm not gonna not mention I do get a 2 hour nap in there in the afternoon.
You always need the nap. Do you have the pasta for dinner too, like a game day superstition?
No, I just for me it's just it's a light meal. Try not to eat too much on the day of the games there, but I find it's the only time in the year I'll nap is on a game day. I won't nap any other time, just a game day. Because it's just as coaches, it's a lot of mental fatigue, and you're watching the whole game, and you're playing the game in your head, and you're managing your matching lines, and you're just overseeing everything. So there's a lot of stress on you.
Oh, for sure. So this next question is still off the ice, and they're asking, how do you structure a typical practice in the in the AHL, which you have definitely more practice time than the NHL guys do.
Yeah, we do. And that's a big thing. That's a great thing about the American Hockey League. We have practice blocks. If we have a 4-day practice block, obviously the first day will be harder, and then we'll taper it down, getting ready for a game. We have the benefit of having a skills coach down here, so we'll take players out based on our needs: wall play, puck protection, quick release shooting, just whatever we need to do. So he'll go out. Say if we practice at 10:30, they'll go out at 10:10 or 10:15, and then the whole group will come on at 10:30. Goalies are out there already warmed up, and we'll probably, because it's a 15-minute skill day, we'll probably have practice set anywhere from 40 to 45 minutes, no longer than that. We'll usually start practice with a game or start practice with a shooting drill, and then our practice will be based on what we need. So today we worked on forecheck, we worked on breakouts, which we need to touch on every day, and then we finished off with some D zone coverage, some tweaks that we're making with that, and then we finished off with a compete 50-50 battles with a puck protection game.
Players always love to have the small area games where there's some fun competition at practice.
Well, if you don't have, and our games are kind of based on something that we need in the game. So we're a prospect driven team. We have to put players in situations to develop to be comfortable getting into 50-50 battles. And sometimes you're going to get knocked off the puck, and you got to be comfortable with that going into the game. That's what it's all. There is another team on the ice, by the way. So these players have to be comfortable in those situations.
I love it. Well, this next question is, can you just speak to the importance of F3 being on top of the middle speed on the forecheck?
Yeah, that's important, especially with a 1-2-2 forecheck. If you're over top in the middle speed, you're in a great spot if there's a turnover to reattack to the net. If you're over top of the speed, basically you're snuffing out their breakout. So you put your again, you're connected, you put yourself in a good position. But if you're not over top of that middle speed on a 1-2-2 forecheck, you're probably giving out a clean breakout. You're probably giving out maybe potentially a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2. Depends on how fast the other team is in that situation. So the F3 is important. He's got two jobs. His job is to get over the middle, and his job is to support the deep pinch and down the weak side.
Okay, we're just moving right through them. Do you have a few more minutes if we go over the top of the hour?
I sure do. Yeah, I got lots of time.
Perfect. What would be your breakout principles versus a team that does a 1-2-2 wide and a 2-1-2?
So let's start with the 1-2-2. So for me, I use the term picking on F1. And if we can trap F1 with a little bump pass, a wall bump or a net bump, and then get off the net and attack through the middle of the ice, that's what we'll try and do. Rimming pucks out against them, they have to be early. If you're going to get back on a puck hard, no matter what forecheck you see, you can probably rim by it. If it's a race to space or a race to get back to the wall, you're probably going to beat a team getting up there. There's always one lazy guy on the ice somewhere. If you can rim a puck out on the ice, on the boards, you probably catch him. Against a 2-1-2, that's tough, like because if they put the puck in a good position, they're probably going to get down on it. So we use a lot of overs, net bumps, and keep it going. So there's one pass and then a rim out instead of just a clean rim out against the 1-2-2, trying to beat the two guys on the wall. We're trying to get that puck past the first two guys in the forecheck, and then we're trying to get the puck up high, like I talked about wingers high in the battles. And then there's a lot of set plays off that. We have bump back to the center position. We have chip to speed with guys slashing. So there's a lot of set plays based off of what the forechecks are running against us. And that's just pre-scouts. It's practices. And that's the one thing that we have a hard time with right now. Our young defensemen coming from the Western League, Ontario Hockey League, or NCAA college are having a hard time adjusting to the pace, the size, and the experience of the players that are forechecking against them. And that's something they'll develop. But at the end of the day, it's for us, it's just a chance to, uh, you know, put these kids in different situations where they do develop.
I love that. This coach is asking, which I think is a perfect question to just follow up the one you just touched upon, but how often in a game will you change your forecheck, or is it opponent and game situation dependent?
That's a great question. I personally, as a coach, I really like the 1-2-2 forecheck. I just think that I don't like sacrificing two guys in the forecheck sometimes based on speed, if your team can get there or not. But with our group here, we want to get on our toes. We want these guys to work a little bit. So we just said, okay, let's get away from the 1-2-2. We are a 2-1-2 forecheck team. It's non-negotiable because what happens is if you have a team that wants to fall into a 1-2-2 from the 2-1-2, they're going to revert to the 1-2-2 because it's less work. It's just creatures of habit, right? So for us, it's like, okay, we're going 2-1-2 hard, and we don't change our forecheck based on that. This is who we are. This is what we are. There's no confusion going forward. And now there's the neutral zone forecheck I didn't touch on, protecting a lead, which is the 2-3, but that is not based on full ice forecheck.
Okay, and then the previous question, you just mentioned player development and how important it is to put them into situations where they can develop as players too. So this coach is asking what forecheck is the best to teach a team, specifically like a U13 that would get them
Yeah.
on that pathway.
Yeah, I think for a young U13 team, I think it's important to try a couple different forechecks. Like you say, one game, and we're going to try a 1-2-2. And if you have, especially young kids at that age, they're probably a little bit offensive driven at the end of the day. So if build your lines. If you have one guy that's just can just fly, maybe you can get into a 1-2-2 forecheck where he's going to pressure the puck and he's going to turn pucks over and put it on the wall and get into good positions with your F2 and F3, right? If you have two guys that can fly in a line, maybe you get into a 2-1-2. Like, so you can kind of build your forecheck based on players. But I just know coaching junior Western Hockey League and the OHL, it's really hard trying to get these offensive guys to work for other people to benefit from the work. they all want to benefit from other people working because that's just the way they're wired coming up. So you can experiment with your group, like say, hey, you know what, we're going to try 1-2-2 tonight, practice it, put it in the game, see how you like it, and then maybe the next week you try two. It's not a huge adjustment. You can try the 2-1-2 the next game. You saw the rotation on the 1-2-2. You could even be a really aggressive 1-2-2 where that F3 activates. So you have lots of different variations to try, but again, I think it's based on your team. Do you have a fast team? If you have a slow team, I would probably go to 1-2-2.
Okay, this next question is how would you break out against a very passive forecheck like a 1-4?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what you want to do against the 1-4 is you want to come with speed and you want to put pucks in behind them, right? So you could stretch two guys. So now you kind of break out their 1-4. Now you put them in a hard position, almost like a power play breakout. But I find when teams get under, do a really good job of sitting back, or you want to get aerials, you want to get pucks over the line, over the wall. So if you can attack it and get a puck over the wall aerial, now you got four guys standing still in the neutral zone. And if you have speed coming underneath, it puts them in a bad spot. Because what happens when the puck gets into an aerial situation, players tend to look up and they don't see what's coming at them from underneath, and you're probably going to get that puck back. Zip and tips are really good, right? You can ramp up speed down the wall and have a guy swinging through the middle, open up your stick, a little zip and tip to speed, and now you got F1 and F2. So that's where that sneak practice drill is really good. You could tell your guys to sit back in a 1-4, and whatever breakout that you devise against it, you can run it against that with a zip and tip situation.
Okay, next question. There's a few more, so we'll get through them pretty
I'm good,
quickly.
Han. I can do them all. I'm just we're done for the day.
Okay, perfect. So next question is, can you explain just the difference between a 2-3 and a 2-1-2?
Yeah, great question. So the difference between a 2-3 full pinch and a 2-1-2 is that it's the positioning of the F3. So on a 2-3, the F3 is right in the middle of the ice. So he's just inside the blue line about 5 feet, and he's supporting the D pinching down the wall. So he just goes left or right. On a 2-1-2, the F3 is coming right down the dot lane above the puck. So if the puck is dumped in, you're going in on the forecheck and it's going in your right side, F3 should be right in the dot lane, right behind the F1, probably just about five between the tops of circles and the blue line. So anything that comes up the strong side, he's going to cross over and take. If it goes out the weak side, he's going to work across and support that deep pinching down the walls.
Okay, next question. Do you have any specific reads for your weak side D? Are they full go, or do you have them check for F3 before they make their decision? And who do you put the onus on in those odd man situations?
Depends if he's your superstar defenseman or not. No, we want that defenseman to go, but obviously it's based on probably the F3 read. If there's no F3 there, he could be coming late. He's going to get there. Then obviously we want to go. We want to disrupt. We want to turn pucks over. We want to put that winger in a bad position. But obviously, if we've got three forwards caught on the other side of the corner, we don't want to be running down there because you're going to probably give up 2-on-1 or certain situations. So he's got to scan the ice as he's going across. He's got to scan the ice and kind of read, hey, if the F3's coming, he's 5 feet late. I'm still going down the wall. I know he's going to be there. And then the other side of it is if a guy blows a wheel or the two defensemen get off or on top of the forwards forechecking, then obviously you don't want to pinch down that wall. So that's all what I talked about being connected. You have to be connected in those situations of reading it. And if a D goes down the wall, we just got to make sure you do a really good job getting back and helping out. And that's why you have a goalie.
That's always put onto the goalie.
Yeah.
Next question. How often will you change your offensive zone forecheck structure specifically? You mentioned like you follow similar to what Seattle does, but do you change it at all, like based on your players who are injured or in your lineup who might have moved up, come back? Kind of just walk us through how you adjust it.
Yeah, it's just like I kind of explained a little earlier. Like we are locked in on a 2-1-2 forecheck just because with our young group, we want to get them up and running and working. And we just feel if we take one player off that aggressive forecheck and the two, it'll allow them to kind of sit back and then nobody wants to be the F1. They want to be the F2 or F3 and they want to benefit from the F1 doing the work. So we want to make sure that F1 and F2 are working. So whoever dumps the puck in through the neutral zone is automatically the F3 because he's probably idling down, not skating at full speed. And the other two forwards should be coming A for speed off the rush if there's a play to be made. And if there's no play to be made, then they should be F1 and F2 on the forecheck. And it's like I talked about today in practice. I had to bark at the guys because like they want to sit back and wait and see what's going to happen. But again, pressure. You saw the video at the start of it. Like pressure creates turnovers. Turnovers create offense, and they want to go on the offense.
Yep, everyone always wants to score. You just mentioned that earlier too. Uh,
Yes.
Next question. What forecheck would you choose against a team that likes to consistently send their wingers flying out of the zone looking for a stretch pass?
Well, again, that's a good question. Like that's based on like obviously if they're getting possession on the breakout, then your forecheck's not aggressive. You're not getting to the puck carrier. Your dumps aren't good enough. It's just you probably dump into the goalie, it's an over, it's an up, and guys just stretching it out. And we experienced that last game against Texas where our forecheck didn't get pucks past the goalie until the third period, and we kind of started to close them down. But you could get into a 1-2-2 where F1 just hunts, he pushes the puck. F2 could stay a little bit higher inside the dots, or you don't have to go wide. Like you can vary that. And if they start stretching out the zones, you got to make sure that your D man go to the zone with them. So that's where you're looking. So if they want to stretch out with their wingers, if you can turn pucks over, you're going to have a space between their D and the wingers. That's the space you want to transition in. That's the space you want to reload and get to the blue line and reattack because now you've caught them out of balance. Now, two things for me is if you're dumping pot, if you're they're stretching out on you, it gets back to your dumps. So you could go to a hard rim stack like we showed in the video.
Yeah.
You could go to soft chips just inside the blue line, so it allows you to get on the forecheck. You're obviously dumping pucks too deep, or your forecheck's too slow.
Perfect. Next question. Is the chip along the wall for center support and the slasher effective against pinching Ds or F3?
Oh yeah, 100%. So it's funny. We had to reinvent the wheel with us. So for us, we didn't want to say chip down the wall. We called it, we want to set the puck into offensive ice because what do players want to do? They want to score. So if we say, hey, if we put the puck into offensive ice behind the D with a slasher, you're probably going to get an offensive opportunity. So now they're thinking, okay, I'm going to get rewarded. I'm going to score a goal. I'm going to get a shot. That sounds a lot better than chipping pucks down the wall because everybody wants to possess the puck. All these kids are taught to beat guys one-on-one, toe drags, whatever. But there's a certain way you have to play the game. There's certain situations where you have to set the puck to offensive ice. There's certain situations where you get off the wall and attack that D to open ice. So those are the skills that we work on with our young prospects, and part of it is setting pucks to offensive ice. Great
I love
question,
that
Cole.
you're adjusting your coaching style to understand where the players are at and their mindset coming into the games, because I'm sure that's definitely evolved over your career as well.
It has. That's been probably my biggest adjustment. I was coaching in the ECHL. I went back to the Western Hockey League for 4 years, and then I went to the American Hockey League, National Hockey League, and then I took a job with the Oshawa Generals for 2 years. And just the change from the players from 2010 to 14 to 2022 after the COVID to that year 24 was incredible. And this, examples, I had players Cal Ritchie, Beckett Seneca, Ben Danford, who are all world talents and just, Beckett Seneca is a great example. A superstar player. He's got 20 points for Anaheim right now at 19, but just trying to rewire his processor to help him be successful. And I still see to this day a lot of those points that we worked on are translating to his National Hockey League game.
I love it. Okay, next question. In a 1-2-2 forecheck, what rules do you have on a D to D pass behind the net? When does F1 chase or reload? And then the third part is when does F2 jump up and attack or stay at the tops of the circles?
Great question. So that's based on what you want to do as a coach. So two things for me is I don't need that F1 to run a defenseman to hit a defenseman. So I call that skating the current. So when you're on forechecking that first, if I can't cut the D in half and force them up into the wall in the F2, and they make that D to D overpass, I'll let that F1 skate the current. So he'll check off that first guy, first defenseman, and he'll pressure behind the net. He'll drag his stick so they can't go against the green. and I'm going to push right into the other defenseman, and then my F2 will slide over above their winger, and F3 will work across the middle, right? If you want your F2 or your F1 to get a hit on that defenseman, that F1's going to go in, and no matter what, he's getting contact. That's when you release that F3 down the backside on your other defenseman, right? And an F2 will work across the middle to support. That first forward, your F1 that had the hit, he's got to work straight out. That's the rotation I showed in the video. So that would be more of a 1-2-2 aggressive forecheck versus a 1-2-2 passive forecheck. So based on what you want as a coach, if you've got a guy that can get up the ice and just crush guys, then maybe you want to be a 1-2-2 aggressive.
What feedback do you give when things aren't going well? For example, is if your F2 isn't getting in on the forecheck consistently enough, what do you do to adjust that? And then secondly, also if you have one particular player that is not buying into the forecheck, how do you get them on board?
Well, those are the tough conversations. I'm sure this is probably an amateur coach with this question, and those are tough questions where I think when you start the season, you have to set your parameters of what you expect out of your forecheck. You can't, again, that goes back to you can't just benefit from someone else doing the work. You have to put the work in. I think it's important for these young players to understand it's a 200-foot game, right? So when you don't have the puck, you want to get it back. How do you get it back? You have to work. And sometimes if you're not the F1 or the F2, maybe you'll get the puck being F3, but you can't always be F3, right? And that's what happens. And players are smart. They know if I just kind of idle down through the neutral zone, the other two guys are going to do the work. I'm going to get the puck back. And that's part of your culture, your team. You have to have that ability to explain it to them why we forecheck and why we it'd be proud to be the F1, be proud to be the F2 to help your teammates out going forward. If it doesn't work, you can move guys around in your lines, you can sit guys down, you can show the players through video, team video or individual. But at the end of the day, it's just, again, and put a forecheck in place that your team can run. Like if you're trying to run a 2-1, 2-4 check and your team can't get there, you might have to make a change. So based on your personnel and your team. But when you have those hard conversations with the players, you're probably gonna have a hard conversation with the parent because sometimes the parents are in their kids' ears and say, "Hey, you don't need to forecheck, you just stay high, you're gonna get the puck." And that's why you have to know your team. You have to know your team, you have to know your parents.
Okay, I got three last questions for you.
Perfect.
What is the best way to help youth players 12U when you are doing a 1-2-2 and they reverse to weak side D? Their F1 has issues becoming that high guy. Should they do it a different way?
Yeah, so if you're running the F1 and they reverse to a defenseman, you obviously if it's a D to D over and they bypass you with the puck, get the F1 to drag a stick, but then you can run that aggressive rotation. So as that F1 is going behind the net, he's chasing the puck and they reverse it, you can activate your F2 to become F1, just run that hard rotation. So keep the momentum up in your forecheck. So one goes down, one comes over, one comes out. You can keep that motion going. You don't need to have obviously they're not hitting at that age, so you can it's just the cycle movement.
Okay.
And you have to practice scenarios and practice the over, pushing him into the 1-2-2, practice the over with a reverse against the flow with a rotation. I think it's important for these players to do reps because we're creatures of habit, right?
Definitely. So this one's a little longer of a question, but this coach has always been curious on this question because you wouldn't know unless you are in the room. So they're asking, how much time during intermissions are you messaging to your players, and what is the general message? Is it making adjustments to gameplay or any other type of message? That's the first part, so I'll let you answer that, and then we'll go into the second part.
Okay. Yeah. So in between periods, we only have so much time. I think we have 15 minutes. I won't go in until about the 11-minute mark. If our power play coach has any adjustments, he'll go in and talk to him for 30 seconds, make the adjustments that he needs to make. Then our penalty kill coach will say, "Hey, Stu, do you got anything?" And he'll make a couple adjustments. He's pretty quick on it. And then what we'll do is then the coaching staff will come in. We come in after the period and say, "What do you got, guys?" And we'll pick 3 points that we'll touch on. And then we'll go in there and try and focus on those points. If you give them 5 or 6 or 7, they're not listening. They're getting focused. It's just going in one ear and one out the other, and you're just coaching to keep yourself happy. But kind of keep 3 pointers in place that you want to see a difference of what you're doing in that period, like having a good F3 high, not pinching down, working back to support the breakouts or face-offs, tightening up in the circle, all those things that you're seeing as a coaching staff.
Okay, you briefly mentioned that you guys as a staff would connect in the first few minutes that you get back from the bench. Is there any other roles or things that as a coaching staff or as a head coach that you do during intermissions?
No, be surprised. It's probably the fastest 15 minutes of the day when you get in there. Like by the time you get back to your computers, your office, and the video coach puts the period on your computer, and you look through a couple clips. I might be looking at scoring chances again. I might say, hey, so and so, look at the forecheck, look at the neutral zone transition, based on your feel from the notes on your card in the period. But then also once you get through that 11-minute mark and you go and speak to the team, it's down to 9. And then also we go to about the 4 to 5 minute mark. So it goes pretty quick. So we try and keep it. I think less is more is the attitude I like to use. You can't go in there and talk for 20 minutes or 10 minutes or 7 minutes. I think you have to keep it under a minute, get in and out, let them, like they're working hard for 20 minutes in that period. Let them have some recovery time, let them have some downtime to get ramped up for the next period.
Okay, final two. Do you have any good passing or warm-up drills that a junior team could implement? They practice every day, so they're trying to keep things fresh and new.
I love it. So I have a drill I brought to the American Hockey League, and my assistant coaches laugh at me, but it's called the snappy snappy. And I did it in the Oshawa Generals because we just couldn't make a pass. Like the kids, when I took over to 3 years ago, we had what 5, 16 year olds and they couldn't make a pass. So what you do is you have 4 lines on the 4 blue lines. Very simple. And there's pucks, there's 1 or 2 pucks at each blue line. The players take off all at the same time. One player from each line, they're all going the same way. So they're all going to rotation, right? And when they get to the next line, they get a pass, snap it back. And then they keep on going to another blue line, snap, get it back, and then they finish up with the next line. So they should have 1, 2, 3 passes going back line. So they're going one rotation, blow the whistle, the next 4 guys go, blow the whistle, next 4 guys go. So it's snappy. So it's snappy, snappy. There's no shots involved. It's about moving your feet, keeping your stick on the ice, presentation, handling pucks. And then once everybody's gone through it twice from one direction, you can go the other direction. So it's very easy. You want me to draw it on a board or
I've
the
got one there. We can quickly get it up there.
yeah, can you see it?
Yep.
All right, let me know if you can't see it. So if I go like this, there is a line here, a line here, and a line here on the whistle. Take off, take off, take off, take off. Get a pass, give it back. 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 And then skate on to the next line. So it's pretty simple. We call that snappy, snappy. And it's all about passing, especially with young kids. How many kids are carrying their stick in the air? They put their stick down on the ice, the puck hits it, it blows up, and now so it works good. So that's one thing. It gets the hands warmed up, it gets the brain warmed up, it gets the legs warmed up.
And they're competing, they're skating hard too. So,
You
um,
blow it and you get moving, yeah, it gets moving.
perfect. This is a great last question. So this coach is saying that they're a very young coach and also an active player. They're only 17 years old, from Germany, and they're currently coaching a 15U team.
Wow.
They would like to ask if you have any tips on how to develop personally as a coach and to achieve a lot in the future.
That's a great question. Good for you for coaching a team. You're only 2 years older than they are. The one thing I think for young coaches and I would tell them going forward is just try not to do too much too early, right? Just coach your team, give enough to succeed. Don't try and coach every situation. Don't try and give your players too much information. A lot of times less is more. And I think if you watch video, the game is never as bad as you think it is, and the game is never as good as you think it is when you go back and watch the video. So I think you get a really good perception of what your team is. And when you're going to try and teach the next day and give your team some information back, pick 3 things that you want to touch on in that day. Don't pick them all because they'll never learn them all. They'll never remember them all. But if you can pick 3 things and make it important, and always try and add a game in your practice. I think it's important to add a game in your practice. We want players to have fun. I think even at our level, National Hockey level, American level, it's fun. The kids want to come to the rink, and the other thing is for coaches if you yell at players, I would tell you to try and weed that out of your coaching game. I think nowadays kids don't respond to yelling. Yeah, you can raise your voice, but and get their attention, but Getting after players in those situations is out the door. You have to find ways to become a better coach to get your message across where you feel that you've gotten your message across and that the players have absorbed your message. I think your teams will be much better off going forward.
And I will also just say kudos to you at 17-year-olds for coaching the 15-year-olds, but also attending this webinar today and trying to learn and grow and develop yourself too. It's always a great opportunity. We will be back next week with Bob Woods. So always lots to continue learning. But Derek, I always like to end our presentations with this kind of last question to close it all in. But you have over 25 years of coaching experience. If you could go back to that first time you walked into the coach's room with all the knowledge you know now, what is that one thing your younger self would love to know or appreciated to know?
Well, I would love to know that, again, it comes back to just what I talked about. When I first started coaching, I just finished playing. I was coaching with a gentleman, Don McKee, who is a big part of Hockey Canada and mentor of mine over the years. And one thing, I was up on the bench yelling, screaming at the referees, and just, I'm a big believer that a team takes on the coach's personality. And that's the one thing I learned over my time is if you're, I write on my scorecard, on my bench card, C3, which is calm, cool, and collective. And I'm a big believer that your team takes on your personality as a coach. I think, knock on wood, have had a lot of success. And I think I'm a big believer that we've had that success because it's just kind of they know if I'm calm, I'm cool, collective, they can go out and play their game and be the best players or the best version of themselves and the best version of their team going forward. So I think that's important to understand that. And the other thing I would know is it's something that I've learned from an from early years with Don McKee is players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I think you really have to build relationships with your players.
I love it. I think you just left us with some great words of wisdom to head into the rest of the day. But thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate everything that you shared and the extra time you gave us as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it and the opportunity to present. Have a great day.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thanks, Anna. Okay, bye-bye.